How you guys doing? I got Jill Carter, Senator Jill Carter, and I got Baltimore musician and YouTube famous influencer, DDM. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Okay, I'm gonna get right to it because I already introduced y'all, but it got all messed up. So I want to talk to y'all about Franca Muller-Paz, who's the Green Party candidate who is challenging Robert Stokes in the 12th district. What is your take on this? You think she's gonna make it? She came out of nowhere. She was a teacher.
Well, I live in District 12. So I've seen this campaign from earlier this year until now, from when Westry was in the race, and we know how that went. And to Franca's credit, from a marketing standpoint, she did everything right. She did not waste time in the early primaries when the Democrats were choosing who was going to be, the candidate or the person running for council or the person that voters were going to choose. I will say this, the tactics that she used the AOC playbook to a T. And what it did was it galvanized people in the district, because District 12 is pretty large. It encompasses various neighborhoods, right? So a lot of them from the east side. You kind of don't hear a lot about him. People live in Charles Village or Station North or those other areas. And she managed to galvanize that section. And she at least looks like she cares. I think when I talk to a lot of my neighbors and people that live in the area, Robert Stokes is kind of like a ghost to a lot of us. I hate to say that, but even when you look at the campaign finance reports, he didn't raise like any money. Like, you barely saw any campaign material, and you have this young lady come in that's fresh, young, relatable. Even her campaign signage looks fresh. It's not the norm, and I think if he does win, it'll be because of that East Side base. But I think he's getting a huge warning shot right now if he comes out of this alive.
Senator Carter, in some ways, I'm actually, she reminds me more of like your vein of politics. I know you're a Dem though. So what's your take on her?
So that's funny. I think so too, but because actually, Lisa, it's interesting that I'm even here because I always feel like I'm the least political politician that exists. I'm a Democrat because that's how I was raised, and that's what I believe has been needed to be in elected office here. But, I've always been an outsider to the Democratic Party. Franca's campaign is very inspirational and very inspired. And I think that it will give hope to a lot of people that winning office outside of being a Democrat is possible, and it will inspire more people to do it. Do I think, without seeing any polling, that she'll win? I think she probably won't. I think because the Stokes name in that district has been a longstanding name, even before Robert Stokes, there was Carl Stokes, who was very popular. And, we've seen in Baltimore before that name recognition carries people a long way.
Okay. Well, I mean, that'll be interesting to watch. I'm also thinking about the last, or maybe when was it? The last election when we had Josh Harris run on the Greens. So I don't really think, and he didn't win either, but it seemed like a pretty respectable showing. I don't think that we've seen the last of the Greens in Baltimore. And it seems like with politics, you just got to build on it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about the state, taking out of Baltimore and going to the state. Now, if anybody follows me, I've been yelling at every state representative I could think of, asking why there's not a special session, talking about rent, talking about, the funding that Larry Hogan denied kids all over the state, talking about this pandemic that's still going on. Senator Jill Carter, what is going on? why didn't we get our special session, and what can people look forward to in the next General Assembly session?
So believe it or not, even though we have Democrat majority in both the state Senate and the House of Delegates, we don't have, to my understanding, we didn't have consensus among all of the Democrats enough for the leadership to feel comfortable that they could pull together a special session with a specific agenda that would have Democrats at the numbers that would be able to pass legislation and then also have it veto proof, because they would need a supermajority to do that. So the word I was given very early is that the leadership did not feel that we had the numbers to vote in unison strongly on any issue, whether it be the eviction crisis, or whether it be something to do with employment benefits or stimulus, or even frankly, because we saw in June the country's outcry for something to be done on police reform. The belief was that we didn't have the numbers and that we should wait until the regular session. It was very painful, very troubling for me to sit back and not be able to do anything about it. But I want to say that what people need to understand, and people don't need to, actually people don't need to understand anything. But, for me personally, I remember many years ago when I kicked and screamed and hand delivered a letter to then Governor O'Malley calling for a special session without the support of my colleagues. And it went absolutely nowhere. But not only that, it served to alienate me from my colleagues even further. So it made it more difficult for me to be a productive delegate, because it was viewed as, me being like trying to grandstand, self-aggrandizement, like, oh, I'm Jill Carter calling for the special session. So I learned my lesson in that regard. You got to have the support of the leadership in this General Assembly to do anything. You really can get nothing done without the support of the leadership.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep yelling. Okay, last question. And I want to start with you, DM. Miss Kimberly Klacik and her race for the seat formerly held by Elijah Cummings. What is our take on her?
Oh dear. It has been interesting. Being a Baltimore citizen, I have a real problem when someone talks about the city that I love, and especially that particular district. That's the district that I grew up in. And you're not here. Like, with her, to me, and I talked to a lot of my friends and colleagues about this, it just doesn't seem genuine to me. And I don't like to take Black people and, oh, we're this basket case and we're this, that, and the third. Baltimore does have a lot of issues that need to be corrected and we need help with. However, I know, me personally, a lot of my friends were offended that come from that area. And the only thing you're showing is everything bad about what comes from that particular district, especially that particular area of Baltimore. And yes, she can point out all of the issues, but I'm not seeing any real, or at least she's not conveying to at least the people that I speak with, an actual plan. And that's kind of the problem that I have with Miss Klacik or Klacik. I don't want to pronounce her name wrong. But she raised a lot of money. But I'm not really feeling Miss Klacik or Klacik. Really, I'm not really here. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not particularly happy with having Kweisi Mfume either, if I'm being honest. I would have liked to saw a more fresh face, if I'm being real. But out of the two, because that's where we're at, I'm going to have to go with Kweisi.
And Senator Carter, I want to ask you two things. Number one, I know that you challenged Mfume for that seat. So I want to know kind of what lessons you learned from that, but also as a person who's a veteran politician, what is a person like Ms. Klacik? Like, is she someone who will have staying power? Like, do you see her somebody that'll be around, or a flash in the pan?
So she was already, so Kim Klacik was already kind of making the circuit as a political pundit for the Republican Party, but just not on, a very wide screen. She was already doing that. And I want to just clarify a couple of things, because a couple of times Dapper Dan has said that, mentioned with Franca and with Kim Klacik, they raised a lot of money. Raising a lot of money, first of all, at some point we need to get away from judging or assessing the value of a candidate on the amount of money they raise, because it's actually money that is the biggest problem with why we can't have real change and real people representing us in politics. Now, Kim Klacik didn't raise any money, or very much. Donald Trump gave Kim Klacik like $7 million, or raised it for her, or funneled it through whatever he needed to funnel through to get her. That wasn't Kim Klacik, that was Donald Trump. And so she doesn't really deserve the credit that she was somehow such a great candidate, that she was able to sit on the phone all day like other candidates, and just people, she was so wonderful that people gave her money. Trump gave her that money, and that's how she got the money. And that's why she's got such an elaborate campaign with like the big buses and everything, and all of the TV advertisement and radio advertisement. What the problem that she has, why she's not going to win at all, is that she doesn't have any credibility. She lacks legitimacy. She's never been around in these communities. She's never been fighting for people in these communities, and she's very disconnected from the communities. Add to that the fact that she is Republican, and generally in the 7th district, there's a large majority of Democrats and progressive people that far outnumber Republicans and those that are inclined to vote Republican. So I don't think that even with all the money that she spent or been given, that she has a chance. After this, the future, I think she has a future, be continuing to be a pundit for the Republican Party and for a conservative agenda in this country, because they're always very happy to find a fresh black face to further an agenda that often serves to or nors to the oppression of Black people, or at least those policies that work in our favor, such as police reform, criminal justice reform, minority business, juvenile justice reform, and just, equal opportunity.
Chance to see the fear in your eyes. Give it to me the Your pride.